Hello, good afternoon. This is Matt Mahoney with Security Solutions, and I am back talking to CEO Doug Thorpe of HeadwayExec.com. An amazing man, been in business a long time, excellent in leadership development specialties. He's got many different programs. We're talking about business. He's not a security professional per se, but he does have business principles and qualities that every business would need to be successful, right? And he actually has programs where employees can be recognized as well to build themselves up so bosses can see them and recognize who they are and keep motivated people. And you want to keep your people working on our teams, right? So, Doug, why don't you introduce yourself? Tell us who you are and where you're coming from.
Thanks, Matt. Pleasure to be here. Well, I base out of the Houston region and lifelong Texan. Done some travels in my day. The real quick flyover, hit the high points. I was commissioned an officer in the Army out of college. Spent some time on active duty, and then decided to leave the military. And I joined a large regional bank, and for the next 25 years was in banking as a banker, and really had the privilege of getting to meet a whole lot of business owners and operators of all sizes, all shapes and types. Probably I tried counting the industries one day, and I came up with 19 different industries I had some exposure to. So I'm maybe guilty of one of those jack of all trades and master of none kind of guys, but I like to think about it a little more positively. There's not much I can't talk to a business owner about in the challenge they might be facing, because I've probably seen it at least once in some form or another. I left banking, became a consultant, and I was helping my old bank clients do project oriented things that as consultants do. And what I realized, the real need that I saw that really connected with me, was leaders struggle. You can go to the famous statement, it's lonely at the top. They need somebody to talk to and think about if they're aware of problems or concerns they might have. And that's what kind of guided me to the coaching realm. And I've been doing that now for about 15 years, and have had great opportunity to work with a lot of different business leaders, again, of all sizes, types, and shapes. But I think the focus of today's show is that entrepreneurial owner that has come out of industry, as you were describing to me your own journey, coming out of industry with a certain knowledge base or skill set, wanting to turn that into a business that you can run and operate. And that in and of itself introduces a whole new set of challenges. And that's what we're here to talk about today.
Right, right. So, like I said, a lot of us professionals, we were coming out of the government, and now we're creating our own firms. So, how do you work with the us as firm? Do you work us one on one, or you come in with the business and you work with the whole business or the teams?
All of the above. With my banking background and that experience, I can actually serve as a bit of a consultant and advisor to the business itself. But my real focus often gets to the founder, and we start work with them, because the culture that may exist in the company starts at the top. And it's up to that leader to have established the right mindset about where they want the business to go and what they want to do. And while they may come in with a wealth of knowledge about the technical aspects of the work they're doing, often they haven't really run a company. And running a company is still different from supervising a team. They might have had the chance to supervise a team when they were in industry, but running a business is a different ballgame. And I do a lot of work with those individual owner founders, and maybe exploring their ideas about the business, where they want to go, what they've already tried to accomplish, and where they still need to go to really make it a good, viable, strong, well-running business.
Right. So are you concentrating more on running a business in from inside with all the different policies and procedures and dealing with management, or are you talking about building the business, meaning like recruiting and finding new clients?
Little of both, because obviously the marketing and lead generation and growth opportunity is certainly part of the equation. But typically, when a founder owner comes to me and says, "I need some help with my business. I feel like we're stuck." I think we can claim we've gotten past startup, but now we're stuck at some level beyond that. I have a basic framework that I use. It's a four-part framework that focuses on people, process, product, and performance. So it's an easy 4P word model. And what I found, I saw this in my banking days. That model, when you start working it, applies to really any kind of business and any size of business. And the only place that potentially is a bit of an exception is the single operator solopreneur. But really, when you think about it, they have the same challenges. Well, they may not have any people on their payroll, but they probably have suppliers, and they certainly should have customers. So that's a people dimension to still be talked about. And there are many different things that you can branch into with each of those four elements. But one of the first things I often do with an owner is we just sit down and we do a quick assessment of how far along are they in the development of their company maturity in each of those areas. Like a lot of times, startups will identify some people and they'll build a small team and get going, but they never really invest time in process. They just kind of
Hmm.
have this head sense about how the work needs to go out, how contracts need to get executed, and they get busy doing it, but they never really standardize a process or develop an efficient process. And without process, you can't really ever scale the business. You have to have some notion of a reliable, sustainable, repeatable process to be able to operate at a higher scale, more volume.
Right. I would think in the beginning, it's all about getting new clients. You gotta have you gotta have clients. So you're out there hitting the bricks to get
You're out
these
there
clients in,
hustling,
and
just
then
trying to
once
get
you have
clients in the door.
income coming in, then you're going to hire more people to get more clients. And then what you're talking about is secondary, is building the processes inside the business of now your organization. You have 10 or 15 salesmen, and then you need departments, all sorts of things spread out into other areas of investigation or whatever. But yeah, that's what you're talking about, right? I mean, you work on those areas, right? That's why you're on your site. It says leadership development specialists. So you're talking about developing leaders as well under they come on, right? So you have programs for that.
Yeah, and again, that kind of applies at several different levels, starting with the owner themselves. If they've never really thought about what kind of leader do they want to be for the team they're going to build, that's an important question. And a lot of times somebody goes into it and with the mindset, well, I'll just keep doing what I've been doing because that works. Well, there's a famous quote floating around now that says, what got you here won't get you there. And I think that's a word of caution for owners and leaders that yes, kudos to you. You might have had success in your career up to this point, but are you still curious and are you still willing to learn new things to take you to the next level and get you beyond where whatever you might be stuck on right now? And it's that there's also a term that we use in the coaching world, funderitis. Funderitis is the mindset that says, darn it, this is my idea. This is my baby. We're going to do it my way. You guys shut up and just go to work.
My way or the highway.
My way or the highway. Number one, that is an incredibly old school mindset. And yes, in the day it worked. And I've worked for plenty of bosses that ran that way. And as a young man, I was willing to endure it because I thought I could learn things, and I did. Surprise, surprise, I did. But did I necessarily go home every day feeling good about it? No. A lot of times I was pretty pissed off when I got home. And there's a lot of data now that does talk about the younger generations. They are fundamentally not going to suffer that at work. They don't feel like they owe the pound of flesh to be taken that way. They're willing to work hard. That's the conundrum. They're willing to work hard, but as a leader, you have to show them what the next right thing should look like and what a win is going to look like. And you got to do it in a way that doesn't alienate them like the old school method might.
Right. Leadership development, because people need to believe and want to work for that leader. If once you have proud of your leader, you're proud of your boss, your supervisor, This guy really is looking out for me. He's taking care of this business. I'm so happy to be here every day. That makes a big difference between someone just punching a clock
Well,
and ready to
you'll
get ready.
hear people talking about bosses that they really respected and admired, and they'll say things like, "I'd run through a brick wall for that guy."
Right?
Okay.
Do anything I want
What
for that
did he
guy.
do that made you believe that, made you think that?
Yeah, exactly. Right? He led from the front. I'm sure that, lead by example. If the guy's doing it, showing you, and he's successful, you want to be him or her.
Right, right.
Yeah,
And
totally.
inevitably, those leaders that get that credit, they make a connection with their people, and I think that's a key word. You can communicate to your staff, you can say, "Here's our objective for this week. Here's the big order we gotta get out, or here's the project we have to finish." That's communication, but if you're not connecting with your people, you're really missing a big opportunity. And what do I mean by that? Well, connecting is kind of literally getting into each person's head, and everybody's wired different. So that sounds like a pain in the you know what to be able to do that with your people. But the effective leaders that are able to truly connect, they leverage high capacity inside each and every person, because if you've identified a good person to come to work for you, and I know that's a big if, but if you have, they want to do great things. They want to do good work. But guess what? You, as the owner and founder, you got to tell them what that looks like. You have to show them what a win
Mhm.
is going to be.
Mhm.
You can't leave it up to chance. You can't say, "What's wrong with you? You just go install that device and it'll be okay." That's not enough.
Right, right. Now today, in our field, we were talking about security field. A lot of firms have guards or street level frontline people that are just all at the same level, and there might be 100 of them, and they want to stick out. They want to be the guy that, hey, I want to be promoted. All right, I want to be recognized, and it's very hard in a sea of guards or 100 or whatever it is to be there. And it sounds like you have a program that you're special right now talking about that, right? What is it? Recognized fast promotion? You wanna talk about
Yeah,
that?
I call it get recognized fast, and it is another kind of a framework that I can offer employees to think about what it is that it does get you the right kind of visibility, and being able to do it in a this is not about ego or beating your own chest, but this is about meaningful value that you can demonstrate from whatever it is you're doing. And it's based on a principle that there's three fundamental signals that senior leaders are looking for when they think about promoting people. They want to have an understanding of your purpose. That's one signal. What are you about? What are you wired to do for us? And that's kind of an important thing. But there's also a strength signal, and that is, what do you really know? What do you know up to this point? What kind of expertise are you contributing? And the third signal is presence. When you do show up, what kind of team member are you? How do you, what's your behavior? What's your attitude? What's your mindset? And there are industries and technical things where people can show up really smart. They really know a lot of deep technical knowledge, but they're asshole. They're just tough
Can't
human
talk to
beings to
anybody.
be around. And so that's a fail on the third signal. To be
Right.
blunt about it.
I've seen it
So
on the street level, and I've seen it in the supervisor.
yeah,
Just,
yeah.
just can't relate to people or, they have problems talking to people and yes.
Can't or don't want to. That's the ultimate thing. They symptomatically, maybe it sounds like they can't, but when you really start pursuing it, you realize they don't really want to. They like what they're doing technically or from an expert standpoint, subject matter expert, and they don't really care about the people exchange and the interaction. Well, that has a limiting effect on somebody's career.
Right. Yeah, I mean, it's a bit doesn't depend it doesn't matter what level you're at, whether you're a low level or a supervisor or the head of the office. You got a motivation to be there. You got a pride and purpose. You enjoy being there. You have, you can it's just obvious how you wanna do their job or not. People wanna follow people that love the job.
Right. And, when you think in your own experience, you probably if you're looking at it truly objectively, you can't deny people that got promoted generally score high in each of those 3 areas,
Right.
one way or another, and you can call it playing politics, or you can call it whatever you want to, but that's generally the hard reality. That's how people get on the short list to be considered for promotion, by being strong in each of those 3 areas, and when you haven't done enough work on your own to elevate those scores, if you will, in each of those 3 areas, you're gonna be held back.
Right. Yeah, reputation is a big deal. I mean, it cuts both ways,
Mhm.
and I've kind of been on the both sides of that over my career. You know, I've had great things and been recommended for things because I did great things, and then I've also been passed over for things because maybe maybe it was the opposite. So it just depends. You know, everybody has ups and downs, and you have different phases of your life, what's going on in your personal life or whatever, but it all transcends into work, however you come across.
Right.
So yeah,
Totally. Totally.
yeah, I enjoy your program. So that's really great. So tell me how long you've been in business and what are we doing for 2026?
Yeah. Well, Headway has been in existence formally since 2013, so we're 13 years on the clock as a firm, and 2026 is fundamentally probably a lot more of the same. We are continuing to see interest in people signing up for some of our programs, going through some of these developmental things. I think I do have a portion of my business. I do work in the Fortune 500 arena, and a
Mm,
lot of the big brands are undergoing tremendous change, all of them. There's big reorgs. There's this whole question of AI coming in and disrupting things. So leadership teams everywhere are wrestling with that question, trying to decide what the right answer may be. When there's certain degrees of chaos, that's where I get to come in and help calm that down.
excellent. Excellent. So what's your main marketing to improve your business?
I am looking at either the newer kind of first time managers stepping in, or the mid tier, and this includes the entrepreneur, owner, founder. I count them in kind of my mid tier leadership range. Programs I'm doing for both of those groups are a big focus for this year. Sometimes with top of the house C suite in the big brands, I leave that to other people. Although I've done work with a couple of uh, high-end CEOs. I don't chase that often. I work more in that middle market, middle management range.
Oh, so you do offer seminars or do you go out to their locations? Do they come to you? How does it work?
Great question. There's really 3 different forms that the coaching can take. It's either one-on-one, mostly virtual. I will do on-sites depending on the situation and circumstance, but a big bulk of what I do is one-on-one. I also do one-to-many in the way of workshops or leadership team development. We'll do half-day or full-day retreat type programs to coach them, augmented by some additional one-on-one with each of the members of the leadership team. And then the third way is through some mastermind groups that I host that are virtual. I try to people that raise their hand and say they would like to join one of my mastermind groups. I'm real careful to try to slot for a very like-minded fitting of industry experience and level of business. And I always try to maintain in my groups a non-compete environment. I don't want to put 2 guys that are running security companies in the same group. I
Mhm.
would spread them out to other groups, and they would get to hear from other entrepreneurs that are similarly struggling with different issues in their own business. So
Okay.
it's
Yeah,
a
that's
it's a
actually
best practice
interesting.
kind of mastermind that I do augment and facilitate with some of my development training ideas as well. So it's kind of the blend of all 3.
Very good. So what do you think your biggest challenge is to grow, say, 10% this year? What is your method to
Well, I
improve
think
your
it
growth?
is market wise. I think the concern is leadership development does still fall in most people's mind. It's part of their training budget, and I wish that was not true, because training is usually the first line item to get cut when people feel budgets are tight.
Mhm.
I believe that being able to do this work can really pay dividends. But all that said, it's a reality. Still, anybody that's still anxious about economic fortune of the country might be playing a real conservative game right now. And I'm one of those a little bit contrarian to that. When you're concerned, that's the time to double down and move ahead. And
Right.
I see this market that we're in much more as an opportunity. The people that are plowing ahead, I think, are going to be the winners in the long run.
Right. No, I think it's going to be a great year, 2026. I think the economy's turning around. Businesses are going to take off. But, at least in my field, security firms, a lot of us get hired for our Rolodex, right? The people we know, the people we can contact, word of mouth about hiring new clients. What's your biggest challenge in hiring new clients and finding them? And what's your method? Are you word of mouth, or are you advertising on the internet? Or are you doing LinkedIn? I don't know.
Yeah,
There's a lot of different methods.
I've abandoned paid ads on the internet and social media. I've spent way
Right.
too much money doing that with way too little return on it. Some return, yes. And I am more focused on the word of mouth and some of the networking I'm doing with my own Rolodex and putting
Yeah.
reminders out to people from time to time. For me, I run my own podcast called Leadership Powered by Common Sense, and I get a lot of lead and referral through that activity
Nice.
because I meet great folks like you, Matt, and we have sidebar discussions about things going on, and next thing you know,
Right.
one of us is
It's
saying,
all about
"Oh, I know
networking.
somebody that could use that," and we make a referral, and boom, there we are.
Right, right. That's the old school method for sure. It always works, right? Just takes a little more time.
Right, right.
But yeah, I think automation is creeping up in the world, right? AI is coming in, and everything's being automated today. It's just crazy at what the things you see today, right?
Right, really
But
is.
yeah, it all comes down to leading by example. I mean, you can have all the automation you want, but you got to sit across from me and and deal with me in person at some point to get the business done.
Absolutely. That's right. Well, it's back to my keyword connecting. We can talk all day long, but do we ever really connect at some level? And one of my guests on my podcast, we had a great talk a while back about the idea that, listening is a lost art. And when you agree to come to a discussion and really listen intentionally, and Covey, in his Seven Habits, called it seek first to understand and then be understood. But what my guest was alluding to is that, like it or not, everybody's got an agenda. You've got something on the top of
Absolutely.
your mind right now that's the next big thing you're going to do. You're asking the question, is what Doug telling me right now going to help me in any way get that done? Yes or no? And if it's no, it's like, let's cut this short and move on. I got to go.
Yeah, right. It's all about me. All right. Well, that's excellent. So I appreciate you coming on today. Really, it's almost 30 minutes, which is a really good time. So why don't you let our audience know who you are, where they can find you?
Yeah, the name again is Doug Thorpe. That's with an E, Thorpe. I am on LinkedIn, and also my primary website is actually dougthorpe.com, and the company name is Headway. There is a headwayexec.com website, but my primary business generator is over at dougthorpe.com, and there's a lot of information. The Get Recognized Fast link is there as well for those who might be interested in that. And as you alluded, it is a separate kind of standalone program. But would love to hear from everybody. My big offer is happy to have a 20-minute discovery call with you, free of charge, no obligation. Love meeting great people out doing good things in the business world. And if there's anything when we talk, if there's anything I can help you with, referral or otherwise, happy to do so. So drop me a line and we'll book up that call.
You got it, Doug. All right. So thanks so much for coming on.
All right,
Take
Matt.
care and good
Matt,
luck in your business.
appreciate it.
All right. See you now.